Folks, welcome to this episode of Gideon's Tactical. We are looking at a brand new knife that's just been released from Spyderco. Today, we're gonna do a full test on the Para 3 from Spyderco. Basically, a mini version of the Para Military 2, one of the most iconic Spyderco knives on the market. Now, even though the Para Military 2 may be super iconic and very desirable, I have over the course of my life owned two of them, and both times I had them, used them, just did not fall in love with them and sold them. But prior to me purchasing the Para 3, I didn't have a Para Military 2. The main reason for me was because of not only the price to the handle to pocket clip dimension sizes. It was just really big, it rode really high in my pocket, and just really wasn't for me in my style of EDC carrying when I everyday carry a pocket knife. So this one really connected with me when I saw that they were releasing it because it's basically just a compact version of that knife. So I was like, sweet, this might be right up my alley. So we are gonna do a full walkthrough today, testing with this blade. We're also gonna run in some other iconic Spydercos, the super classic Delica 4, and up to this point, my all-time favorite, Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight. And actually what made this become my favorite is after I purchased the second Para Military 2, just couldn't get my head around it, sold it, I picked one of these guys up and I was so happy I did. It was much more ergonomic, lighter weight, slightly smaller handle, pocket clip was better. All the things made me like this over the Para Military 2. So we're gonna talk today, is this still better than the Para 3? Or are they about the same, or do I like the Para 3 better? We're gonna discuss all that, run these knives in together. So with that, folks, let's go ahead, run in some beautiful blade footage of the Para 3, destroying a bunch of material, and then we'll get to it and really break down this knife. So while that blade footage is gonna be rolling, I'm gonna be talking about the blade itself. We're gonna hit two birds with one stone here. So what we're looking at overall is a total length from the handle scale to the tip of 3 inches, and you're gonna be getting a cutting edge of about 2.75 actual cutting edge with a full flat grind that Spyderco does very well. Now this is gonna have a rather stout blade back here by the eye hole, or the thumb hole right here to deploy at 0.15. So very thick back here, but it tapers down to an extremely precise tip really quick. And it has a very large amount of belly that you're seeing through the action, really helps it to slice. So this is, even though on the thicker side of pocket knives, an extremely good slicer. It's just in the edge geometry and then the blade grinding and all of that. Very well done with that really, really good tip and that really nice leaf shape, but again, with that really good belly, better than most other Spydercos that you'll see out on the market. And so it has performed very well with that CPM S30V steel that is rather rust resistant, but also very good on wear resistance after all of the material that you saw, as well as much more. You know, that was just a small snapshot in time of the work that I've put on this blade so far. I've yet to have to tune it up, and it's still holding a great edge after several weeks of use daily in cardboard cutting, rubber material, whatever it may be. And it is. I mean, the blade itself is an awesome slicer, and at 3 inches total blade length, and then at the 2.75, it's great for every EDC task that I can imagine I would ever put a knife through. So as we go along here with deployment and the lockup, you have that really nice eye hole or thumb hole that you can actuate from either side. So this is a totally ambidextrous blade. No handle scales covering it up on either side. So righties or lefties, you're gonna really enjoy this. I can easily get my thumb in there and get a really good swoosh, swing out, and lock up. And that's helped with the bronze bushings that are in there that you can see hopefully through that eye hole. You can probably see it, or the screw holes there, you can probably see it flashing a little bit. And this has a really nice thick stop bar back here. So when the blade comes out, boom, it's gonna hit that and it's gonna rest really nicely and secure against there. And then the locking mechanism is a compression lock. Think of almost like a reverse liner lock, in that this is the locking mechanism back here. And you can see there it's hitting about, I would say, about 40% right there on the back. I've used this several times on a couple different Spyderco models and I've never had it fail, never had any issues. You can see there it's very easy to see and actuate if you want to, but it's really out of the way when you're using the knife. You're not going to accidentally disengage it with any type of use that you may be doing with the knife. But It's really nice and fun to use. It almost reminds me a little bit of like an axis lock or the piston locks that Spyderco has on some of their other knives that we're gonna look at today, because all I have to do is depress that little lever and then I can swing that right back into place. So it can make the deployment, I'm gonna try and do this all on film here, the deployment as well as the closing of the blade just really fast, really fun, and it gives you a very solid lockup. There's no play left, right, or up and down. So great lockup, great deployment, and finally the centering is dead center right there on this knife. So really fun, a little bit different, a little unique, and a good solid strong compression lock that they offer. So let's go on to the handle here, and as I said in the intro, the handle on the Paramilitary 2 is just so big and took up so much real estate in my pocket. That is why I ended up not putting it in my rotation and ultimately dumping it from the collection. So they've brought it down slightly on the handle size here. Now we're looking at 4.27 inches overall length. The thickness is a really nice 0.45, so just a hair under half an inch thick, so it's not going to take up a lot of real estate. Flow through construction there with those nice pillars. So it's going to make it really nice and light at 3 ounces even, which is great. That's like a perfect sweet spot for me. Anything right around that between 2.5 to 3.5 is really nice, and 3 I think is just an awesome, perfect sweet spot made possible by that. And then the G10 with the steel inlay handle scales. So there's steel framing in there, and then the G10, and it's a good resistance there on and texture on the G10 itself. Just feels very comfortable in the hand when you are holding it. Now, I wear large size gloves, as many of you know, and I share that with you so you can get a good perspective of how it fits in the hand. I'll give you guys a slightly wider angle there. And so my hand just barely fits inside this little hump area right here and the front hump right there. It will fit in there. And then if I designate the used finger choil right there, which does have a little bit of jimping, and then it's got this really aggressive thumb ramp with some pretty aggressive jimping there. It doesn't bite in, but you can just see there it's really textured. And I am locked into place, and now I have a lot of real estate, and I even have a little bit to spare off the back end. I would say if I hold it back here, it's getting on the point of being too short for me. If I use the finger choil, I have zero problems, but it's almost too small in this portion when I don't engage the finger choil. So that is something to note, but that's going to give you fantastic lockup even in a reverse grip. So if you did want to use this as a compact, either utility knife or, which I don't recommend doing unless you are trained and know what you're doing, it could be a possible compact self-defense blade as well. It does give you a huge amount of traction for that. So you're never going to slip up. You saw in the cutting portion of the video, I was going through rubber mats, I'm going through cardboard, lots of cordage, all kinds of different stuff, and I didn't have any sort of slippage or fear of sliding up and hurting myself because of the way the handle as well as the neck here with the choil and then the aggressive thumb ramp really keeps you locked into place. All right, let's talk about the lanyard hole, which is ginormous right here at the top. You could get like a double run of 550 paracord through there, and it is a tube style lanyard hole. So for those of you who like rocking lanyards, you're definitely going to enjoy this knife. Now, it is a totally ambidextrous tip up, tip down, right or left pocket clip setup. And again, with the eye hole there, this is a great ambidextrous blade for lefties out there. Now, the issue I have is the ride. The ride is insanely high. We'll talk a little bit more about this when I run in the other Spydercos. You can see how much is sticking up out of your pocket. It's about an inch out of your pocket with this pocket clip. So I would have really liked to see this either just put in a different location so it was a slightly deeper ride, or even a loop over design would be great. They do make aftermarket loop overs that you can purchase for probably like 25 bucks. There's some out there. But I'm not digging the ride at all, and that is a beef that I have with this pocket clip. And then on top of that, the really shiny, high vis pocket clip. It would have been nice if they just painted that black. Would have just helped a little bit, because now it rides and it's super flashy, and everyone knows you're carrying a pocket knife when you are rocking the Para 3. All right, so the price point on this knife is going to be $120. That is what I paid for it over at Blade HQ. We will have a link in the description below there. And as soon as it becomes available on Amazon, we will have Amazon links with this and including the other Spydercos that you're going to see in this video today. When you guys use the Amazon links, that's always a great way to help support the channel. We get a small kickback from Amazon, and that helps me have the finances to purchase knives just like this and do run-throughs for you so that you can make a decision if this is the right blade for you or not to deploy in your EDC system. Now, for $120, the materials and everything is there. It's definitely, you know, a good bang for buck, if you will, at over $100, and you're getting USA made S30V steel, the lockup, the G10 handles. There's nothing wrong with that. But at over $100, for me, I'm talking for myself personally, it's really gotta shine for me to continue to either purchase it or to have it in the collection and not just resell it and buy something else. So that's really what you guys through this video are going to have to decide at over $120 or at over $100 at 120. Is this knife really going to hit the niche, hit the spot, the sweet spot for you in your EDC system, or one of the other Spydercos we're looking at today? Are they better suited for you? Hopefully this video will help you decide that. All right, so now it's time for the Battle Royale, running in the Manix 2 Lightweight again and the Delica 4. Now, I love these two knives. They will always be in the collection in some way, shape, or form for the foreseeable future. I love all three of these knives, but I wanted to, when I purchased the Para 3, run it up against these two and really think through the process, particularly for you guys. You know, if you're looking at a Spyderco and you like the overall design of a Spyderco, but you're not quite sure what to spend your money on, that's what I hope to do in this video. And particularly because for smaller compact knives, the Spyderco Delica 4 is one of my favorites. And for overall EDC performance, the Manix 2 Lightweight has been my favorite knife for many, many years. I will have a link in the description below to that video on why I think the Manix design, and particularly the Lightweight, is just an overall jack of all trades and a master of almost everything when it comes to an EDC knife. And all these knives are going to come in at 3 ounces or less, and all these knives are going to be less than 3 inches in overall blade length. That's why for me, these are all ideal for EDC. Now let's discuss whether or not the Para 3, new to the playground, if you will, is going to get jumped by its two older brothers, or if it's going to be able to hold its own. Now, the positive on the Para 3 first, to kind of hit that, is that the CPM S30V steel is going to be the best of everything you see here. We have BD1 tool steel here on this lightweight. We have VG10 on the Delica 4. And the S30V steel is just done so well over there at Spyderco, and it holds a great edge. I've worked with it before. It's easier than some other steels to get an edge on. Now, these two knives will be quicker to get razor sharp edges on than the S30V, but these will dull significantly quicker than the S30V steel that the Para 3 is rocking. So that's a trade-off, a pro, and a con. You just need to think through that. There are other options out there with both of these knives. You can now get Knife Center exclusive that I think I'm going to be buying soon in the Manix 2 Lightweight, which is like a XHP, I believe, Carpenter steel, which I would say is very competitive with S30V, and that's like 90 bucks. You can get ZDP steel with the Delicas, and those will run about 90 bucks as well, and those would both be steels that would compete with the what's it called, S30V on the Para. So the Para out of the gate, though, for the average design has a much better steel. The second thing to note is the sweep. These two down here don't have a lot of belly, the Delica 4 or the Manix 2. This one has the most belly, and I noticed it in the slicing when I was doing material, particularly with that rubber mat. I was shocked. I flew through it so fast, faster than any knife I've recently tested with that rubber mat, and a lot of that, I believe, had to do with the sweep and the belly of the blade and just the tapering, the grind angles, all of those put together. So out of these three, not that these can't slice, but I noticed the slicing capability on the Para 3. And that's about it, folks. The rest of it, these other two knives tend to win for me. So that's why I'm having a really hard time with the Para 3. Here's the deal, is that first off, when we talk about price, the Para is going to be the most expensive at $120, as we have discussed. So that's going to run about $120. This one with the VG10 is going to run you about $60. This one with the BD1 is going to run you about $80. And then if you do the different steels, it may go up in price by about 20 bucks, but they're still going to come in at less than the Para 3. So first is price point. The Para doesn't win in that regard. Then on to the pocket clips down here. The pocket clip ride on the Para is the worst of all three. It's going to ride the highest. It's the most flashy. Whereas on the Manix 2 Lightweight, it is only tip up, right or left, still ambidextrous, but it's a paperclip wire system that is rather deep, doesn't show a lot, and it's a wire, so it's not flashy in that regard. So I really like that aspect of it. Going to ride much better than on the Para. And Even though it's a similar ride with the Delica 4, it's blacked out and it is a little bit higher. So it's still gonna ride a little bit deeper in your pocket, and it's just not as flashy with that blacked out pocket clip. The other big aspect for me are ergonomics. The deal is that with the Delica 4, I get huge amount of real estate, even though it's a really compact, lightweight knife, so much so that it's sticking out the back and it just feels so comfortable and natural in my hand. Whereas as we discussed, when I'm not using the finger choil, so I'm just in that natural first grip, if you will, my finger, and my pinky in particular, is starting to ride on this hump and is just barely on the knife. Now again, if I engage the finger choil, I have no issues, but that is something that I noticed right away that I wasn't a huge fan of. And also with the Manix 2 Lightweight. Now the Manix 2 Lightweight has a slightly longer handle, but you can see there again, it's sticking out just far enough. It is still shorter than the Paramilitary 2 and just feels better in my pocket and is lighter in my pocket. But in this natural grip, I can work all day like this, and I don't like working all day with the Paramilitary 3 or the Para 3 in this same grip. Like this, it's just not fun and I don't get quite the leverage. And it has the finger choil on this Manix 2, so if I do still need to get up and get that really fine, precise work, I can do that. But I can work all day in this grip and give me the leverage and the comfort and just feels normal in my hand, whereas I don't like cutting like this. So for those of you who are still having a little bit of trouble either understanding what I'm talking about here with the ergonomics on the handle, I want to run in two more Spyderco family members. The first one here is the Raven 2 and BD1 tool steel that came out last year that I was very happy with. Super awesome blade. I'm going to run you about $45. Links in the description below over to Amazon that we offer you guys, and both of these knives will be there as well. All the knives that you see will be in the Amazon links below. But even though this is the exact same handle length, the exact same, these run in at exactly the same handle length, this one is way more natural for me. You can see there the way that they designed this back portion here cups my finger. I have plenty of room to spare and I can work all day without having to engage the finger choil. Then if I want to, I can choke up and use that. Whereas with, again, the Para 3, they didn't do that. They do this kind of palm swell and then this hump right here and then bring it back in. And so what ends up happening again is, even though this is all on the front end, almost the exact same dimensions as on the Bird Raven 2, it just doesn't feel quite right. I feel like I'm losing space back here, whereas on the Bird, it gives me space. So just with some design tweaking, I think this could have been awesome. And basically, if they'd done a very similar handle on the Para 3 that there is on the Raven, I could have gotten a little bit more real estate without actually having any more blade length, or handle length, excuse me. So that's something to note. And then here, this is a knife. This is the Efficient brand new knife that we recently reviewed. This is designed to be used with the finger choil, and it does have a shorter handle by about 1/4 of an inch. But even again, this has a really nice, just rounded, natural back area right here. Whereas again, with this cut in and then this hump and then this up angle, you lose real estate and it creates a hot spot right here. There is no loss of real estate and no hot spot here. Even though it's not really designed to be carried this way, I could make this happen. And if I had just about 1/4 inch more like the Para 3 would offer, then I could probably rock it all day like this. Now it is designed to be engaged this way and it does have an overall shorter profile, so that doesn't really bother me. But when I particularly run it up against these 3 other knives that we're looking at here, all 3 of these will feel more natural without having to use a finger choil than the Para will, and they'll give me more leverage to get stronger cuts without having to engage the finger choil. Basically, to boil it all down, you gotta engage the finger choil in my mind if you're gonna be doing a lot of cutting tasks. It's just what you've gotta do, and so you've gotta decide, is that something that you don't mind, that you like doing, or would you rather go with one of these other Spydercos that are gonna give you full grip without having to engage the finger choil? Well, folks, it's time for us to wrap up this video, give you my final thoughts on this knife. Do I like this better than the Paramilitary 2? Yes, I will use it much more often. It's more compact and feels better overall in my pocket and just deploying it in my EDC system. It's the type of knife, it's the type of weight class, it's the type of size that I gravitate to. Has it blown out of the water the Manix 2 Lightweight or the Delica 4? No, it's not top dog in my Spyderco collection. I think that the Manix 2 Lightweight still holds that as an overall one-piece system. No issues. I can hold it in multiple grips, just the same amount of weight. They come in at a little bit cheaper for the most part for most of the different steel options that they now offer. And it's going to be, for me, just slightly more ergonomic and basically give me the same performance. Not to say that I don't like the Para 3. It's still a great knife, but it would be, I would say, second choice to the blades that you've seen here at this particular point for the Spydercos that we've looked at, kind of in the middle of the three. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit with your purchasing decisions, ultimately deciding, is this the right knife to put in your EDC system, and is it going to function in the way that you want for you? So as always, guys, thank you so much for coming over here, checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. I'll try and answer any questions that you guys may have in the comments below. Check us out on all the relevant social media as well. That's a great way to see what's up and coming. We're putting up videos every single week. And always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.